If you have been around the channel for a while, or you're familiar with some of the topics I tend to come back to when I do these discussions, you are probably pretty aware of the concept of, when it comes to progress, the better you get at something, the harder it is to continue improving. And a lot of the time, we look at that as effort-based. If you get to a certain level, you have to work harder and put forth more effort to continue getting better for generally less obvious returns, and that is manifested a lot of the times with a novice lifter, someone who their recovery between and adaptation phases are so short that they can lift one day, take 48 hours off, come back and hit a PR that next training session. And the farther you go into the spectrum of your ability, or I guess your adaptive resistance and capacity, the farther you get down that line, the harder it is to elicit a response. It takes more stress to make your body change in some way to help deal with it the next time. It just gets more used to it. But something that is less often talked about is how much more important the mental aspect becomes. How much more important it is to be making intelligent, good training decisions. A lot of people will discount the idea of overcomplicating training. They say that you should just keep it simple, and the simpler it is, the better always. And there's a part of that that is really true and really beneficial. It's great sometimes to be able to just turn off your mind and say, well, I'm just going to go in and, do just the basic thing of doing this progression. The problem with that is you eventually get to a point where you have to be more complex in the way that you set things up. You have to make decisions based off of really well-informed ideas and less general concepts. You have to be more complex the better you get at it. And so that was something that really manifested itself in this session for me, in that I was hitting some sets and I was feeling pretty good. The squats were actually going better than I kind of expected them to, based off of a few other factors. They didn't feel amazing necessarily when I was under the bar, because my conditioning is still pretty poor, so anything close to a set of 5, I just have a hard time maintaining the tightness and the bracing that I've been working really hard on. It's exhausting to just maintain that squat position. It's a really uncomfortable thing, and so doing rep work at it, it's the same thing. A lot of times if you do high rep work, your technique is going to be a little bit different than if you're doing a heavy single. It just happens that way. And sets of 5 are even a little much for me when it comes to staying consistent with some of those things, and I got fatigued pretty bad. But I felt like I could have added a little bit more weight on that top set, the 535 for 5, or I could have tried for another rep, and I feel very confident that if I would have gone up another 5 or 10 pounds, or if I would have gone for a 6th rep, it would have gone. And that was one of those decisions that I had to make kind of on the fly, and decide, am I going to push it a little bit and risk something weird happening for the sake of trying to get ahead of my plan and be ahead of schedule moving on into next week? Or can I just do the thing that I have decided was the best option? And yes, you listen to your body, but you also look at the whole context of what your end goal is. This workout doesn't matter by itself. It is not important. Any one set in my training will not make or break where I get to at the meet, and with the exception of if I do something stupid and get hurt, which again is a possibility when you're doing something anytime. What we do is intrinsically dangerous. There is inherent risk in putting a large amount of metal on top of or above yourself and then straining against it. I mean, it's kind of sounds like the actions of a crazy person, but I digress. I had to make the call to say, I'm just going to put that effort that may have been able to manifest into a higher top set and say I'm going to put it into the back off work, and I'm going to make sure that the reps that I'm doing in that top set are to the standard that I want them to be. And there's still things to fix even in that. If they were all perfect and I did 5 perfect reps and said, well, I could do like 5 more, then I would have probably done another rep or two. But I am looking at the context of the entire training week. I've got some big deadlifts coming up. I've got the benching that was coming up, and I had a whole lot of other things to consider, and it's not just go as hard as you can for the one day and then take forever to recover. I have to work within the means and the confines of my body's ability and capabilities. And that's another thing. The better you get, the more you understand what those are. And this set right here that you're seeing is a good example of that. I might have been able to hit the 5th rep of this top set without taking a second, but I had something weird. Something was off. I cramped in my my shoulder and like my back area. Like, it was a weird thing that hasn't happened to me before, and I think I just was trying to rush through the benching because I was really confident on how the benches have been going, and so I had to take a 20-second little break to kind of refocus and regroup and do it. Luckily, I came back and took an adequate amount of time and hit that top set again and hit it much better. The pauses may not have been as long as I would like them to be, but the last pause was a little bit longer, and I still felt strong regardless of that little bit of unevenness coming off the chest. So you see it in the top set of the squats where I probably could have done another rep and or maybe more, who knows. But I would rather play. It's such a complicated process to think through of, do I push it as hard as I can on this day, or do I say, no, I do what I need to, what I have planned, what I'm expecting, because when you get to a certain point, you're rarely going to surprise yourself. You're not going to come in and hit a 6-rep PR when you are pretty familiar with yourself, especially if you're used to your programming and you have a good understanding of how the strength gain works. You have a pretty good idea of what is going to happen, but that 1 rep or that 5 pounds ends up being a big mental battle, and it's challenging, but that's what makes it so exciting. And I love it. I absolutely love having that little bit of extra stress. It makes it more worth it when things work out, and it helps you to make decisions that are going to lead you to that end goal, and that's really what it all comes down to. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like rating and share it with your friends. If you did not, go ahead and watch it again. Give it another chance. Maybe you'll change your mind. Hopefully you will. If you want to talk about this stuff down in the comments, I would love to see that conversation going. If you're not subscribed, please do. I'd love to have you along for the journey. And other than that, my acapella group has a wedding gig tomorrow, so we're going to go back to the west side, sing in a church in Seattle for some people getting hitched. And then I'm going to visit with my girlfriend for New Year's Eve. Happy holiday season to all of you. And we are going to probably hang out, and then I'll come back on Thursday for my deadlifts. So hope you're all doing well, and I will talk to you later. Bye.